All right, here we go. So we're back, still working on chapter 3 in our textbook. Uh, this app is going to be called the Slideshow app. And so basically, instead of making an actual Google presentation, we'll be able to make a slideshow app. So if you haven't done so, you want to go to Thunkable. We're going to create a blank project. We're going to call it Slideshow app. And so we're going to go ahead and hit create. Alright, so now that we have our slideshow app, we are going to, we want to get organized. I know you probably already downloaded your pictures. If you did, you just need to go to our website. Uh, let's see. If we preview this so that it looks like what it's going to look like for you. So this is chapter 3. If you go 8th grade slideshow, hover over 8th grade, we click slideshow. It should open up our slideshow app like this. And so we got 4 individuals. This is going to be talking about inspirational women in history. Once again, you can do, if you don't want to do women, you can do whatever you want to do. Just make sure it's kind of have a history theme here. So we have Rosa Parks, Grace Hopper, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Dorothy Vaughan. So Rosa Parks, she was instrumental in the civil rights movement with the Montgomery bus boycott. Grace Hopper was a computer scientist. He was the first one to coin the term debugging. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court. And Dorothy Vaughan is from like the movie Hidden Figures. She was one of those mathematicians that worked with NASA. She also worked with computers. If you want to learn more about these individuals, there's like a link you can click and it will take you where you can learn more about these individuals. So pretty cool. Just kind of want to go there, talk about that. Uh, if you want to download or save the pictures, you can save the pictures. Just make sure you right click, save image as. One thing that I would get in the habit of doing is actually naming these what they are, because it could come back to get you if you're not careful. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename these because I don't want to go in and type out a whole name, which will make sense once we get going with our app. So if you don't know how to do that, if you click your folder, click downloads. Once you have them downloaded, you can just give them a name. I've already downloaded all 4 of my images, so I just didn't name them right, so that's what I get to do now. So to name these, in case you did download them, you want to go here, you can click the photo, and you can click this right here. This means rename. So I'm just going to call this Vaughn. And I want to click this picture, same thing, rename this one Hopper. And the reason I'm doing this is when I get started coding, I have to make a couple conditional statements, which is what we talked about last time. So we definitely want to make sure we give these meaningful names. Okay. Ginsburg. There we go. So next step we're going to do is we're going to upload all 4 of these pictures to Thunkable. Hopefully you remember how to do that. If not, just click add your assets and we'll add. Then we can choose our file. And this will kind of help you figure out why we went through and renamed those. So if I go down here, these are my 4 people. So I'm going to get Vaughn, Ginsburg, Hopper, and I'm control clicking. I'm going to hit open, and hopefully it should add on 4 of those for me, or 3. So I got Hopper, Vaughn, and Ginsburg, so I need to add 1 more. Looks like we're missing Park, so we'll go down here and find, there's the Parks is right here. And you can just add them one at a time if you want, but definitely want to make sure you have them all added. So now I have Vaughn, Hopper, Ginsburg, and hopefully Parks will show up here in a little bit. There we go. So now we got them all added. We can go back to our design. So with this, I believe we are just going to add a image. So we go to design. We're going to add an image, and the app doesn't tell you to do this, but we're also going to go ahead and add a label to start with. So that should make this pretty simple. And we're going to add a button here. This is going to be our next button. So how this app works is when we hit this button, this picture is going to change and this label text is going to change. We'll start with the picture button changing first. We are going to rename our component, so click this pencil. This is going to be our next button. And we'll call this our main label. Yeah. And then since we only have one image, we can just keep that. That's pretty explanatory. That is our name. So we're going to click our button. We're going to make this say next. And of course, you can change the way this looks if you like. It's kind of up to you how you want to get it set up. It's completely up to you. I do highly recommend you play around, get this looking the way you want it to look. That looks good to me. No shadow, no border. I'm going to go ahead and keep it like that. So what we're going to do, we are going to go to blocks. And when our next button is clicked, we are going to go to control. We're going to get our if and do. We're going to hit plus. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check what our picture is. So we're going to logic if our image one's picture equals. So then we're going to get some text. And this is where we're going to have to be very careful because we're going to want to name. We're going to have to type in our name, but it has to be exactly what our picture is called. I'm going to go ahead and set this background picture though. We're going to set it to parts. Okay. And we're going to set this label text to say those are parts. And I'm going to hit that. Enter. There we go. So let's see if we can do this an easy way. Nope, looks like we're going to have to actually type in what our pictures are. And so if we go to our design, click add sets, we're going to have to type in our text exactly like this. So you want to make sure you name them appropriately. You can also go in and rename them if you need to, but they do need to have names. So mine is Vaughn with a capital V, Hopper. Okay. So we're going to go back to our blocks. And we are going to just go to text. Take some of these. And we're going to have to just type it in. So I believe that first one is parks.jpg. Then we're going to set our image one property to hopper.jpg. And so if we actually test this, if I hit next, this is already set to park, so hopefully this changes to, yep, Hopper. So that's pretty simple, but it won't do anything else because we only got one thing set. So one thing we are going to do after we set this to Hopper, we're going to go ahead and click our name label. We're going to set our name label text to say Grace Hopper. And we're going to test that again just to make sure it works right. So that says Rosa Parks. If I hit next, now that says Grace Hopper. Okay. And so basically this first condition is always going to be true because we did set the picture to Parks. So now we're going to be checking to see if it says Hopper. So I'm going to go to logic. I'm going to get an equal sign. And we're going to go to our image 1. We're going to say if image 1's picture is. We're going to get our text that's right here. And this time we know it's going to be Hopper.jpg. You definitely, once again, make sure this and this matches. And if it's Hopper, we're now going to set our image to Vaughn. Okay. And then we also want to set our label text. And our label text is going to be set to Dorothy Vaughn. So Dorothy Vaughn. And so once again, we are going to test this just to make sure it's right. So hit next, it goes to Grace Hopper. I hit next, Dorothy Vaughn. Perfect. So we're going to hit the plus sign again. And plus sign again. There we go. It's really important that this is going to be one big if statement, and we'll explain why that's important. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to logic, get an equal sign, and we're going to go to image. We're going to get our image 1's picture. We're going to get text, and we're going to text to see if it's our VAU, capital VAUGAN.jpg. Once again, want to make sure that matches. And if it is, we're going to set our image picture to Ginsburg. And we are going to set our name label to, oops, put that there. And then that should be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I believe. Ruth Bader, yep, Ginsburg. And so we're going to actually test this just to make sure. So start with Rosa Parks. That's Grace Hopper, Dorothy Vaughn, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yep. Notice I hit next though, nothing happens. And so then after Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we're just going to make this start over. So if it's not any of these, then it's time to start over. So we're just going to go to our image, and we're going to set our image back to Rosa Parks. And so then that should have us loop through. So if I click this, next, Grace Hopper, Dorothy Vaughn, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Up right here, I forgot, I will also need to put my name label, and we're going to set this label here. This should say Rosa Parks. So this is a pretty simple conditional statement. Well, not really simple, but this is a conditional. So when it first runs, when I hit the next button, our first image is set to Parks, so that is true. So it sets our image to Hopper, and then we set our labels text to say Grace Hopper. And then once we hit the button again, it is set to Hopper, so this condition will be true. And I'll just come down here and do the setup code with Vaughn and Dorothy Vaughn. And then we hit enter, we'll check to see if it's Vaughn, which it should be. We'll go on through with Ginsburg and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Oops, let's make sure we open it. Yeah. And then we'll do the same thing. We hit next. We don't need to check because we only have 4 pictures, so it's not any of these 3. We're gonna set it back to parks and road parks, and then it just starts over. That allows us to loop. So it's really important we do this one if statement. We don't want to do separate if statements, and I will explain why that wouldn't work in class. Thanks. Bye.